So today is the 27th of July 2026, and guess what tomorrow is going to be? You guessed it, it's the 28th, then it's the 29th, 30, 31, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, right? It'll be August, then it'll be September, and time is just ticking by, isn't it? And I don't see any changes occurring. This is the frustrating thing, because how many podcasts are out there? Let's just think of the Joe Rogan podcast. How long has that actually been going on for now? And what's Russell Brand up to these days? Like, what are we doing? You know, we're just talking really. And so of course that is the first stage of change, right? To have conversation. But if none of those conversations actually manifest into tangible actions in the world, then really, where are we going? I don't see us actually changing the direction of this ship that we're in. And it's a sinking ship, unfortunately. So we're just so distracted with entertainment and of course the latest and greatest PM over here, Andy Burnham. Everyone has high hopes again. And it's just a familiar story, isn't it? Like every 4 or 5 years, or even more consecutively, more sort of quickly, the frequency between these prime ministers that are just changing seat constantly. It's just such a familiar thing to me. Like people have some sort of like hope of change, and then of course a few months go by, and then of course nothing has actually changed. Nothing meaningful anyway. Like they can change superficialities and surface level things in the world, but at the end of the day, we're still going to be living in a slave system. We are the victims of indentured servitude for survival. And so what I'm saying all along here is that the change that we actually need to make has to come by way of conversation, hence this journal on this channel. And, through a means of connecting people, so social media and the internet. But we now need to use that to its full advantage. We need to fulfill our true potential on this planet, which is to ultimately liberate ourselves from this system of slavery that we're all experiencing and have experienced since birth. We are slaves to the wage. We are rent slaves. This is problematic because we're not really getting to live our lives the way we truly want to, are we? And what's frustrating is that the solutions that I feel are so straightforward and simple have become complex in people's minds, because it's almost like the Matrix reaches into people's heads and it just sort of starts playing devil's advocate. Like, what if this? Oh, but that's communism, that's fascism. Oh, but that's that, and that's this. And we've tried that, and this is, and what about this? Oh, it's a commune. And people just can't see how simple it is. When simply all we need to do is crowdsource land and crowdsource the construction of democratic co-housing projects, because then we get a choice as to how much we pay. Do you want to actually carry on paying the amount that you pay? It's only going to get worse. Inflation is just going to get worse. Then there's going to be a huge system transition, black swan catalysts that are on the cards for us. And then we're going to get catapulted into an AI prison. So that's the direction that the ship that we're on is taking. We're on the Titanic. It's a sinking ship. So what we need to do is get out some lifeboats. Get out our buoyancy aids, if you used to use those as a kid, and just get out the rafts, because right now we can do a parallel system. It's not a parallel society. It's not a parallel anything other than a new way of creating homes. And so we have a choice today if we simply come together. And, look at the biggest YouTube channels around. They've got millions of followers. Imagine if every one of those million people gave £1. Even if it's like £1 on a monthly basis, right? You've now got millions of pounds. This is what the government basically are doing, but they're doing it by force. And so this is essentially extortion. But what I'm saying is, let's just do it in a truly transparent, optional and democratic way. And this is just civilizational crowdsourcing. It's what the government should have been doing. It's what the politicians should have been doing all along, but never will. And it's such a simple thing. Then we've got the money to crowdsource land, and then to actually use this collectivized mind to say, how much should we be spending going forwards for the fundamental foundations of existence, which is shelter, energy, food and water. Because I'd say, if we are going to be living in a truly progressive society, surely you stop anyone on the street, they'll say, well, I'd rather pay sort of next to nothing, I suppose. But then, of course, what's the connotation of that? They think, there's so much to download, even though the solution is very simple. You can check it all out on uf.land. And it's all essentially about a co-housing project that's done democratically. Because really at the crux of the issue is the amount that we're paying, right? Because there are, of course, co-housing projects out there already, and they're all boring, and people go there and they say, well, there's nothing new. And it's ridiculously expensive. But the revolutionary aspect of what I'm proposing here is that actually, if we fund it in a completely different way, There's no reason for us to continue charging ourselves insane amounts. It would simply come down to the amount that you are willing to pay out from your own choice. So this is the crowdsourcing option. You could pay £1, it could be a one-off payment. You could pay £1 and it could be a monthly recurring. You can pay any amount that you want. And that's the point, because it works because we have social media, we have the internet. That's the only reason it works. So this is a global phenomenon that can unfold before our very eyes. It will become a snowball effect. More and more opportunities will arise, more and more land will be acquired, and it will all be done totally transparently. And then once we've got that, we'll be able to see this simple truth that our outgoings, which are way up here, and our income, which is down here, are sort of slowly can be recalibrated so that our outgoings are mitigated and our income is higher and can therefore be spent in ways of more alignment for ourselves. Like what is it we actually would rather be spending our money on? Because we don't want to be throwing it away at the end of every month to these people that have just been fortunate enough to perhaps be born into a privileged position where they can actually inherit wealth, or they have enough money to actually acquire land and build homes for profit. No more with that. This is a psychological transition that needs to unfold, is that we have to see that we're just spinning around on a tiny little rock in space. And so therefore there's no reason that for us to not come together and see that actually if we do come together, we can be the people that we've been waiting for. We don't need to keep staring at screens and hoping that Andy Burnham or whatever next presidential election brings, whatever the situation is politically, it's irrelevant, because we are the 99.9% of the population on this planet. There's 8 billion people. We just need to empower ourselves and get over this sort of rather saviour complex, this idolatry that we have to authority, where we think change can only come from authority. So it's almost like people are waiting for something that's never going to happen. And so we're sort of living in a Groundhog Day, and that's why I started with the calendar dates. It's like today is this day, then it's that day. And it's just conversation. Nothing actually happens because there's no tangible end product. But if you want to check out newf.land, you can see that there is a tangible end product, and that's simply democratic co-housing going forwards. I'm not sure how this hasn't already happened, and I'm not sure why we can't just get on with it. For me, it's all very simple. You can check it out, like I mentioned, newf.land. And so this is more like a journal, like an informal video series that I'm going to be doing on YouTube or whatever social media platform you're watching this on. And we shall also be telling stories for freedom, because I've got to find ways of just generating momentum, generating my own enthusiasm somehow, because it's so difficult to make videos when you know for a fact that no one's watching them. But I have to just keep going, because I can see that this is the inevitable solution for humanity if we want to experience more freedom, more abundance, more well-being in the world. And if that isn't the direction, then what is the direction? Well, the direction will be led to psychopaths like Bill Gates and Elon Musk and whatever, nonsensical politicians that are in power, here today, gone tomorrow. So that's it. See you next time.